Hey, folks. Happy Monday evening. Welcome to the pre-show for the next 3 minutes. Just making sure all our levels are good. Roll here, ready to go. We go live on radio at 3 minutes after the top of the hour, for those of you who don't know that already. And so we just killed time for about 3 minutes. We just make sure we're all set up. Things are ready to roll. And I think we're ready to roll. Oh, forgot I had that sitting back there. We were talking about muskets today. There's my musket back there. All right. Let's make sure I've got everything going here for what we need to do. And I got feedback over there, so I'm going to turn that off. So we got about 2 minutes left. Let's see, we're having trouble streaming to Facebook. This may be an issue on Facebook end. Is it possible the stream is ended or deleted on Facebook? We'll keep trying and let you know. If it's resolved, please check Facebook to ensure the stream looks okay. Well, let me go check on Facebook. Let's see what's going on. Where's it going to show me that? Right there. Looks like the Facebook stream is rolling. So I think we're okay. All right. You are live, it said. Well, thank you. We have just a little over 1 minute left and we go live on radio. So all of you gathering, thanks for being here. This is the pre-show, if you're not familiar with it. And this is the, hey, Roger Rabbit, good to see you. And for those of you wondering, yes, we are going live tonight on the public stream rather than just privately on Patreon. And the reason I'm doing that is just to let people know that we're here and that we're promoting Patreon. Patreon is there for one purpose, and that's to give people an opportunity to give to this show and help the show grow. And so we're promoting each other, kind of cross-promoting everything. So we got about 20 seconds left, and we go live. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go dark, and at exactly 3 minutes after the hour, we go live. So stand by, don't go away.
The Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent talk.
Hey, folks. Happy Monday evening. Welcome to the broadcast. My name is Scotty Roberts, if you don't know that already. And this is my show, the Intrepid radio program, broadcasting to you live on Odyssey Radio. And that's over at odysseysradio.com. Odyssey is spelled oddly, Odysy radio.com. That is the home of Subspace Odyssey Radio. And so I want to thank you all for tuning in tonight. I am wearing a sweater tonight. Look at that. It's still the thick of summer. We've come from hot and humid to today. It's kind of cold. And it's really cold down here because we haven't turned off the air conditioning or anything like that. There's still a lot of hot summer to go. So air conditioning's going. Otherwise, it gets steamy hot in the house. In the meantime, down here, it gets really cold. So my fingers are freezing. I got a hand in a pocket of my sweater. So I hope it's warm and not too cold and not too hot where you are. So welcome to the program tonight. And I want to thank you for being here because it's a topic that could smack of being very political, while I am not one who is afraid to go political. I am very careful when I go political these days. And you know why? Because especially when we're broadcasting on, and we use YouTube, whether we're going private or public, we broadcast through YouTube to the Patreon channel. And so either way, I have to be careful of what I say. Is this the America that we live in now? That I have to be careful what I say on a public platform for fear that I'm going against the narrative of the owners of the company, and could get, like what happened to me a couple of months ago, got banned for a week from posting shows over on YouTube. That's really what kind of prompted me. Maybe it was about 3 months ago. It prompted me to start looking in other places. And even though I found Patreon, I still have to broadcast through YouTube. The nights where we are private on Patreon to Patreon members only, those still go through YouTube just as private, unlisted broadcasts. That's the way we have to connect to the broader audience. So tonight, I'm hitting a topic that's got a lot of probably triggers and hot buttons in it for people, for places like Silicon Valley social media companies. And so I will use some guarded language, not because I'm afraid to say what I believe or afraid to say what needs to be said. I'm in fear of losing my platform. And of course, then the 1,000 episodes that we have stored up over on YouTube. If you have not seen them, you can go back and you've got probably over 2,000 hours worth of listening time over on my YouTube page. And if you look down through our archives, they go all the way back for about 4 years at least. So you could, could go far sooner than later. I'm afraid that if it keeps this up, says Roger Rabbit, we'll all have to watch what we say, even in our own homes, thanks to Alexa listening, I feel. Now, I don't have Alexa here, but we do have a computer. We do have cell phones, and we're hearing a lot more. And I'm no conspiracy theorist. You know that. I'm not a whack job conspiracy theorist. They're listening. I've got to check my house for bugs. We don't do that because we've got devices that pick up our voices. We all know this. So we already know how it works. So I have to be careful what I say tonight, just in certain places. You'll hear me, you'll know, I'll use code, and you'll know when I hit some of those spots where I have to be a little careful. But I want to dig into this, and I'm really prompted to do this tonight because I was looking at a book called Stolen Youth: How Radicals Are Erasing Innocence and Indoctrinating a Generation. And this is a book by Bethany Mandel and Carol Markowitz. And I think it's going to be an interesting topic. We're not going to probably just won't be one night on this topic because I want to go through some things. And at the beginning of her book, she gives an introduction. And she said, I never paid attention to politics or cultural issues. I was too busy raising my family. I spent my time volunteering at my kids' school, so I always thought I knew what was happening there. I thought it was enough. It wasn't. Not paying attention to these issues was the biggest mistake I ever made as a parent. Now, you hear variations of this lament all the time. And I hear it from countless parents all the time. You see it in the news. You see more and more parents saying things like this who had no idea of the danger that was lurking in every corner of their children's lives, from their schoolroom to their libraries, to their smartphones, to their television and beyond. My kids' smartphones are something I'm almost ready to take away. Not because I want to deny my kids the whole world, the wide world of information that they can have and friends and social connection and so on. But I don't like the things that I see that they are seeing. And, hi, Barbie D. You got reverted here. Maybe I didn't tag you in the post over on Facebook. Sometimes I got to do that all manually. I try to tag a list and then I can't tag anybody else. So maybe you got missed tonight, but thanks for being here. I'm glad you made it over here. So you hear this everywhere. And if you look at birth rates by ideological persuasion, you'll see that it's not progressives having kids. They're entrenched in anti-natalist propaganda. You know what that is? Anti-having kids propaganda. Now, these are generalizations I'm using, but it's how the movements seem to work. They have their aim is ideological capture of a generation, but it's not their kids they're working to brainwash. It's ours. So for these woke revolutionaries, similar to the communist revolutionaries of the 20th century, the goal is societal transformation, even if the cost is individual suffering. Meaning, I'm not going to have kids because I'm going to indoctrinate this generation of kids. Now, keep something in mind here. One thing, that they believe in what they're doing. They believe this is the right thing to do. And this is what we're going to look at, the indoctrination of our kids. And I'm in the thick of this right now. Now, I have 3 older kids, as you all know. My older twin daughters, they're 31 years old. I can't even remember the year they graduated. 2008, something like that, I think it was. 2010, somewhere in there. Might have been later than that. 2012. Anyway, you get the point. I didn't worry so much with my kids then, but we saw it coming then. We saw some of this indoctrination, this stuff that was being taught in schools, and we say, wait a minute. You can't teach that to my kids. I will resist that. And it started slow. It's a progressively gradual, you could say. So according to this whole ideology of the woke left, the well-being and the best interests of the individual are subjugated for the collective good, what they believe to be the collective good. And individual suffering is irrelevant. It's the pursuit of collective societal shift that matters to them. And to some of you, this might sound extreme. But you really think about it. Start putting dots together, linking the dots, and listen to these words that I'm telling you. It's the collective societal shift that matters. And that individual misery is, in effect, a feature, not a bug for these revolutionaries. And when we begin researching stories from individual suffering families, all the stories you hear out there, all the news you hear out there, all the little bits and pieces you see of parents who are getting in trouble for speaking their minds at school board meetings, not creating problems, but speaking their minds, saying, you will not teach these things to my children. These are my children, not your children. You're going to see that they've worked really hard to build for their children pulled out from, worked very hard to have their everything that they've, hang on, I'm mixing up my words here. I'm trying to get 2 thoughts together at one time. You'll see that the left has worked very hard, and there's a lot of parents who want to pull their kids out from underneath this. And they don't want to see their kids pulled out from underneath them. These are my kids. I don't want to see my kids taken in a direction I don't want them to go, into a thinking that I don't want them to have, that I don't share, that I don't believe in. Their children transformed into shells of their former selves, some of these people. They're angry. They're disconnected from their parents. Their sense of self and their community is long gone. And out of respect for these individuals and their families, where I tell some of the stories that I've been collecting here and that I'm reading, changing the names, the locations, identifying characteristics to protect their privacy. So the trend was only accelerated, and it has mismanaged societal response to things like the last 3 years with all the face covering wearings. You see where I'm going? And all the chemicals you'd have to take into your body, almost mandated, but not mandated. So you can see how this stuff was happening even amongst our children. My children came home and talked about it and asked questions about it. There was a mother of 3, we'll call her Allison, from the Boston area, and she was one of those parents. Her daughter was already struggling a bit academically and socially back in 2019, just 4 years ago, when she started the 6th grade. Her friend group wasn't filled with the most desirable characters. She was beginning to show outward signs of rebellion, like dyeing her hair weird colors against her parents' permission, dressing in darker clothes, gothy kind of stuff. And it all took a turn when the big worldwide bug hit us. And the school closed on her birthday. And then her uncle died from non-bug related causes. And isolated in her room on her devices, she soon began to spiral. And this woman said that her daughter stayed in her room all the time. It was dark. We didn't know when she was going, what she was doing online, but we thought whatever keeps her busy while they were locked down. And the return to school 2 days a week didn't improve the situation. And by October of 2020, she discovered that her daughter was not only cutting physically, cutting on her arms and her legs, which is a psychological issue, but she was also suicidal. And every single outpatient program for troubled youth was on Zoom because you couldn't meet face to face. Even over 6 months into a pandemic that was widely understood not to put anyone under the age of 40 at significant risk. Only one program was inpatient, and this girl compared it to a prison where they had to drop their daughter off outside at the gate while they were wearing their face coverings. And the daughter was only supposed to be there for 10 days, but stayed for over 3 weeks. Now, this woman explained what happened next. This is a quote from her. Our daughter looked like she was in a prison. She wouldn't really talk to us. The psychiatrist did all the talking for her. She was in a mask on Zoom with us. And the psychiatrist prompted her, "You have something to tell your parents?" And the daughter sat silently, and the psychiatrist announced that she's non-binary. We asked, where's this coming from? We were dumbfounded. It didn't sound like her. We knew there were issues, but I don't know if she thought it was an escape or the cool thing to do because it's what she was watching on YouTube and TikTok. And it just so happened that 8 other kids in that program also discovered during that 10 days that they were non-binary or gay. And the psychiatrist kept recommending books and resources to support this woman's daughter through her change of life and her change over to being non-binary. Now, this woman went on venting. She was groomed. We think she was groomed to be this way. This came out of the blue. So when their daughter came home, they faced another enemy in their fight to save their daughter, the school. This woman explained when she went back to school, the public school helped this process along. They helped groom her. They came to me, the parent, and said that my daughter wanted to change her name to Corey. We're going to look into changing it in her records. But the mom refused. But it didn't matter. They will do whatever the kids say. They don't care what the parents say. They don't care what the parents want. She was now Corey. And they used the pronouns they, them. They didn't give a shit what I said, says the mom. So, after transferring their daughter to a charter school, things began to improve. both with her daughter's gender identity confusion and with her underlying mental health issues that had led her to inpatient clinic that was more concerned with helping her gender transition along than treating her severe mental health issues that had spiraled out of control when she was isolated during the pandemic. Now, the key takeaway for this mom about what happened to her family is this. She said the inpatient program started the whole thing, and the schools just went along. They don't care about my daughter. The school is so involved in politics and pushing their agenda that it's sad. We as parents feel like we have absolutely no control. And that's why they pulled their daughter from the schools. And I'll tell you, Rainey and I had even discussed at one point. Now, our school is pretty good out here. You could say it's probably because we're isolated a bit and we're out in the country a bit. We're an hour outside of a major metropolitan area. But there were times where we thought, you know what, we're going to keep our kids home. We'll teach them at home. Now, we haven't done that. It's a lot of work. But we've considered it, and we still do talk about it from time to time. The worst things get out there. Now, this woman's daughter's story is one that another person will call Charlie hears frequently in her work with parents of children who are experiencing rapid onset gender dysphoria, or ROGD. ROGD, maybe. Charlie's own daughter was one of those children. And Charlie shared the same sense of powerlessness that this first mom did. When every other authority figure in her daughter's life, from therapists to school, were working to encourage her daughter's transition rather than dealing with the underlying issues that led to her gender confusion in the first place, which didn't come out until she was under their supervision. So the Jacobs family is from the San Francisco Bay Area, white, relatively affluent by American standards, though not quite as wealthy as the neighborhood kids with private jets, Charlie explained. These kids are exposed to all of this very liberal schooling, which I was clueless about. Now, by the way, liberal, not so much looking at it as a political party, but a movement of political thought. All right. I thought I'd have my finger on the pulse of the school, but I missed a lot. The seed that started the whole transgender plant growing inside of her was in 7th grade health class. It gave these kids highly sexualized labels. It was nonsense, polyamorous, bigender, etc., etc., etc. A whole list of made-up words. And the 11 and 12-year-old girls picked a label. It became cool. Nobody wanted to be the cis basic kid. Oh, you're just a normal kid, aren't you? Because that was boring. Not only was it boring, but for a white affluent kid who wants for nothing, they don't want to be the oppressor, which is what they're being taught in school. They have to pick something that marginalizes them. And Charlie explained that kids then go down a rabbit hole. They start off at lesbian, then non-binary, then transgender. That's a pattern I see over and over with kids. Now, let me tell you something too. There are people that are those things, but they're adults. When they make those decisions as an adult, that's their life. They can do whatever they want. When a kid starts making that decision at early ages, at the prompting of the authorities in their life, in school, in therapy offices, and so on, that is when it is problematic. So in her daughter's Girl Scout troop, 8 out of 18 kids came out as something after that health class. I don't think anything of it, says Charlie, except the polyamorous, because it was disturbing that they were talking about sex at that age. In the parent course for the health class, all of the parents were just nodding their heads in agreement. It was the emperor's new clothes, and everyone around us is very smart with PhDs, etc. But everyone just sat there silently. I didn't know I was a bigot or a transphobe at the time. But this is what she was taught about herself, the mom. So after her daughter declared her transgender identity, the school was all in, changing her name and her pronouns, and she went to a dark place, self-tattooing, piercing herself, darkening her room. And Charlie asked the school to partner with her to monitor and limit her daughter's internet usage. But she was on a device all day long. She was doing high school on the internet during the pandemic. It wasn't just the school working against Charlie and her daughter either. All of the therapists said that Charlie's family had to affirm their daughter's new identity or she'd commit suicide. That was what was thrown out there. And by the way, folks, this is a single story, but this is not a singular scenario. And it was because of Charlie's refusal to go along with the school and the therapists and working to find ones that would partner with her rather than work against her that her daughter began to make progress. She no longer goes by a male name, but Charlie isn't sure if it'll stick. Everything out there is trans, she said. It's in every storefront window, trans people walking up the red carpet. It's a constant battle. It's a battle more and more parents are realizing they're fighting, not only to protect their children from being inducted into the gender ideology cult, but also to protect them from becoming collateral damage of that cult. Now, I'll tell you something, folks. I'm as tolerant as the next guy. I believe if you want to be trans when you're an adult, you know what? More power to you. That's your choice. Not my life. You can live your life whatever way you want until you start trying to pass that on to my minor children. Keep your hands off of my minor children in more ways than one. My children aren't at school to learn about their gender. My kids are at school to learn how to read, to write, to do arithmetic, to learn history, and things like that. So at sleepaway camps and programs across the country, children are increasingly being groped into sleeping arrangements with children and counselors according to their gender identity, not their biological sex. In Broward County, Florida, the guidelines state if students are to be based on gender, the transgender student should be allowed to room with peers that match their gender identity. I think that was pre-DeSantis in Florida. Anyway, it's not just a possibility. It's a reality that's happening nationwide. In February of 2022, about a year and a half ago, parents of fifth graders in Los Alamitos, California, received startling news about a sleepover their children participated in. Students from Weaver Elementary School had been placed in cabins with camp counselors according to how they identified. Fifth graders, resulting in biologically male counselors sharing a cabin with young girls. This wasn't illegal. In fact, it is what was and is required under California law, according to assistant director of the camp, who explained they place staff in cabins that they identify with. So after the trip, parents were sent an email by the school superintendent who explained privacy rights protect disclosure of information. Back that up. Privacy rights of the fifth grader protect disclosure of information about an individual's gender to the public, and thus we do not have information to share about other individuals in your student's cabin. And so the message to parents was clear. Everyone but your child has an expectation of privacy. And parents have no hope of being granted information about the people with whom their children are sharing a cabin. And I got to tell you, folks, if my school sponsored something like that, my kids would be pulled from that school. I'm the parent. But as you see what's happening, the liberal, progressive left is starting to try to take that away from parents. And they're succeeding in many cases. Pulver is the superintendent. He gaslit parents who objected to how the trip was handled by school administrators, writing, quote, "As parents, you may not be aware of federal and state non-discrimination laws that all employers must abide and operate under. This is consistent for all school activities, whether during the day, on field trips, or overnight. Please know that all individuals supervising students were appropriately vetted through the background checks, and there have not been any allegations of sexual misconduct. Due to state and federal non-discrimination laws, the district does not know, nor will we, if an individual was, in fact, opposite biological identity than the students they were supervising." Identity. You can tell by looking at them, but it's identity. End quote. So the school district basically told parents this: we don't know who we put in the cabin with your kids, and you won't ever get to know that either. We're legally required to allow anyone in the cabin as long as they tell us that they identify with a certain gender. And there's nothing you can do about it, nor do we even find your objections to be at all reasonable. In fact, you're a bigot if you do object. Like I said, what would you do if that was your kid in that situation? Melissa T says, indoctrination on all levels, slaves within entitlements. Exactly, Melissa. Sean says it's satanic. It's all agenda driven, said Melissa again, over in the chat room, folks. If I had my children in school now, I probably would be in jail, Morgan Snow says. So this is what happened to another pseudonym, a Hannah from Orange County, California, who sent her then 10-year-old daughter to another nearby summer camp. Parents from her daughter's school had caught wind of what happened in Los Alamitos and confronted the camp and the school about sleeping and bathroom arrangements before they sent their children. When parents contacted the school and the camp with their concerns, a Q&A was held and the legal language of the statute was sent. This is what the email stated. Students who attend outdoor education have the right to participate and use facilities consistent with their gender identity, irrespective of the gender listed on the student's record. On what they didn't say here, irrespective of their age. This is Education Code 221.5F. And similarly, the California Gender Non-Discrimination Law requires adults have access to facilities that align with their gender identity. Privacy rights protect disclosure of information about an individual's gender to the public. And thus, information about other individuals in your student's cabin cannot be shared other than to clarify that all individuals in the female cabin, quote unquote, primarily identify as female, and all individuals in the male cabin primarily identify as male. To the extent an individual is non-binary, the individual must select a primary gender for the purpose of use of single-sex facilities. Would you let your kids go to that camp? If I had known ahead of time that there were infractions like this, as many of these parents did, they said, just don't put my kid through that. When they get there, they voice their objections. My kid wouldn't be going to that camp. But Hannah didn't understand the legal jargon and of all of this. And she was reassured that she was on the same page as the school, which told parents that the reporting about what happened to children in Los Alamitos was fake news. Hannah explained in a subsequent email to the school administrators, "I feel completely misled. And what I find most concerning is the lack of information divulged to parents on the matter when our principal was fully aware that this was a possibility. I spoke with the school after my daughter came home from camp. They informed me that out of 65 employees, about 4 of their staff members identified as non-binary. They said the principal was perfectly aware that they could be sleeping with our children. She could have clarified this to the parents, especially when she saw that this was a concern for many of us." So, who did Hannah's daughter spend the weekend with? A counselor named Nick, with a neon green mohawk, arms covered. Not that there's anything wrong with neon green mohawks. Arms covered in tattoos. Not that there's anything wrong with tattoos. 2 missing teeth. I have 4 missing teeth, 2 here and 2 here. That's not so weird. And other teeth that were visibly rotting. Now, that I don't have. And Nick had some facial hair and announced their pronouns as they and them, and something Hannah's daughter didn't understand and felt too intimidated to ask about, largely due to a recent experience at her school. And the school's actions just weeks prior bullied Hannah's daughter into silence. So Hannah's daughter was part of a group text chain where one child wished death on another because he was unvaccinated against the bug. And the entire text chain was turned over to school authorities. And in that chain, they found a boy bullying Hannah's daughter, taunting her, calling her a lesbian, as way of retribution and standing up for herself, as young children do. Hannah's daughter threw the insult right back, calling the bully a gay boy. And it was for this reason that Hannah's daughter was stripped of her title as class president, humiliating and devastating her. And Hannah explained, "When I asked her why she didn't say anything to a teacher or the principal when she was uncomfortable at camp, she said it was because she was so worried that she would get in trouble. She said that when she tried to explain her side of the story during the previous incident, the principal didn't listen. Why would she listen now?" Hannah's daughter got the message loud and clear from the school. On issues related to gender and sexuality, you are to keep your mouth closed or risk retribution. That is the message that she was given. And the lesson Hannah herself learned? She said, "I'm the kind of person that gives the benefit of the doubt and is too trusting. This is that wake-up call that I can't trust people, especially with my children. They're more concerned about the leaders being comfortable than my daughter being uncomfortable." And so after an extended fight with the school administration, Hannah's daughter was reinstated as class president. But the sleepaway camp, their policies remain unchanged because they're enshrined in state law. Now, this whole topic we're going to be talking about tonight, we're kind of on a single thread here so far. This isn't the whole thing we're going to look at, is sexuality. But it is an important facet to all of this, to a cog in the machine to understand what's going on. So in the long term, a generation of children, including all these examples I've given you, have learned that they have to ignore their internal alarm that signals danger solely because they might offend someone. You've heard me say it before. You can't be offended unless you let yourself be offended. You have to appropriate offense in order for offense to take root. Otherwise, it's water off a duck's back. It's somebody else's words. But that fear of potentially offending someone comes at a cost. And the cost was these people's safety. Hannah's daughter wasn't the only person who quieted her internal alarm. The principal and every adult involved at the camp did as well. Nobody wanted to question the wisdom of putting someone who was sporting a green mohawk, a sleeve of tattoos, and facial hair in charge of a cabin full of girls. It's the job of adults to take care of children, not the other way around. It's our job as parents, Rainey and I, and many of you out there. It's our job to extend our security and our safety around our children. And whether somebody else out there thinks that we're closed-minded or offensive or short-sighted or we just don't get it, I don't really give a good goddamn rat's ass. Those are my children. And we will raise those children the way we believe they should be raised. So how did these children come to be endangered in this way? How did we as a nation get here to this point? And maybe more importantly, how do we protect our own kids from a similar situation as these? So you have to recognize first that there's a problem out there. And we talk about a lot of things on this show, from ghosts and goblins and spooks to history to you name it, all the different things we talk about. That doesn't mean there's not serious issues like this underlying everything every day. You have to recognize that the problem exists out there. It's even more pernicious than you could have possibly imagined, folks. It's not just gender identity indoctrination. There is, you've heard this one, critical race theory, CRT. And by the way, YouTube, if you got a policy against talking about this, I don't know about it. So we're talking about things as intelligent adults, not passing misinformation. So critical race theory, it's taking over whole curricula from social studies to mathematics. But while CRT has been at the forefront of parental protests in the last year, it's still just one piece of the whole woke indoctrination puzzle. And this forced indoctrination extends into absolutely everything our kids are encountering. It's not enough to teach kids the science behind climate change. We need to have them put on a protest at schools across the country, like schools did in 2019. You didn't even have to agree with it. You may have disagreed with it, but as a student, that was part of the curriculum. So instead of teaching actual science classes focused on learning biographical information about climate activist Greta Thunberg. Remember her? The danger is this, folks. While every librarian may not consider himself or herself to be woke, although many do, woke ideology sets the narrative currently sold by children's publishing houses. While every pediatrician isn't woke, wokeness sets the narrative in medical schools and professional medical organizations. And while there's many well-meaning teachers and mental health counselors, the woke narrative is uniformly dominant in their graduate programs and professional organizations across the country. The same woke narrative is bleeding into our young people. This brainwashing into left-wing ideology for all children, even for those whose parents lean leftward politically, is potentially devastating to the health of our nation and to the mental health of individual children. And we have to set forth a few objectives. We have to expose how the woke are infiltrating American childhood. Childhood, not just politics, folks. Childhood. Stealing our youth. They provide parents with tools to fight back. We have to provide parents with tools to fight back. And we have to tell cautionary tales of parents who didn't realize what was happening until it was far too late. This is a battle. This is the internal civil war in our nation. for our children and for all children. And that's why I'm doing this show. That's why I'm going to do a couple more shows on this thing, because it's time that we fight back against this. Where's your heads on this so far? Because I'm going to start diving into first topic is education. Start diving into this. Yeah, Regretta. Regretta Thunberg, Rapid Dog says. Double barrel middle fingers, says Sean Stroik. I don't do woke, says Susie Q. Me either, Susie. Awareness and discernment is critical, says Melissa. These are all people in our chat room, by the way, if you're not over in the chat room. Marriage should have been between God anyway. Between God and who? I know what you're saying, Sean. I got it. Susie Q says, stay in your peace. Keep children home. Teach them to grow food. 2 + 2 = 4. And if they can read, you're good to go. And you know what, Susie Q? You know what this show was originally supposed to be on tonight? Pointers about raising teens. That's where I originally started with designing the show for tonight. And it was supposed to be about things you just mentioned. Teach them how to grow food, teach them how to cook, teach them how to do laundry, your teenagers. Teach them responsible things that they're going to take into their adulthood. My mom taught me those things. Now, my mom was a single mom of 3 kids, very young single mom of 3 kids. When we'd go to her and say, Mom, I need to have my jeans washed, she'd go, here's the washing machine. Let me show you how this works. Now, I grew up, as you know, in the late 60s. I was still a child. I was born in 1960. And during my early teen years in the 1970s, my mom still had one of those wash machines. There was a big tub with the 2 rollers on the top and the handle. So you'd wash your clothes in the tub. Now, this was actually an electric one. So it had an electric agitator. But then you pulled your clothes out of that. You drained the soap, put in water, rinsed them, and you ran them through the rollers to squeegee out the water. A wringer washer, mechanic says. Yep. And so my mom taught us how to do that. She eventually got a real wash machine from Sears, but we were poor folk, and that's what we had. And but she taught us how to cook. She taught us how to sew. I remember I wanted her to make a Star Trek uniform for me from the old series in the 60s. And the only fabric I had, it was a red shirt. That was before all the stigma of the red shirts was really that pronounced. And when I was like 13, I was going to a little Star Trek convention where Gene Roddenberry, the creator of Star Trek, was speaking in Minneapolis before the big conventions even started. It was called Star Trek Live. Man, I wanted to go. And this was only, about 5-6 years after the original Star Trek had been canceled. So I went to this show, but I wanted a uniform. I had some red velour, which is what the shirts were made out of. And I bought a pattern from Gene Roddenberry and Majel Barrett, his wife, the one who played Nurse Chapel. She had a company called Lincoln Enterprise where you could buy the patches and the braid and posters and the patterns to make shirts. So I got the pattern. My mom was a good seamstress. Keeping in mind, my mom was born in 1941. 41? Yeah. My mom was born in 41. So she grew up in the late 40s, the 50s, and the 60s. She cooked, cleaned, kept house, sewed clothes. She knew how to do all that stuff. So I asked her once, hey, Mom, can you sew this shirt for me? And she said, I don't have time to sew you a shirt. Because she was going to school at the same time. She was working as a waitress. So she showed me how the sewing machine worked. Now, thank goodness we were at least far enough advanced that we didn't have one of those pump pedal sewing machines. But all of these things, Susie Q, you made me think of that. These are the life skills. My mom taught us all how to do that stuff, even though we were boys. It's my older brother and I, and then I have a younger sister. So let's start looking, though, at the education system. This is not the stuff my mom taught us at home. Now, my mom, by the way, was very liberal when we were growing up. My grandfather was very liberal, her dad. He was a liberal, so liberal, I found old flyers of his in the 50s. He was a union organizer in Ohio, and they were referring to him as Oscar, was his first name, Oscar the Communist. And so that was his belief system, but he was genuine. He genuinely cared about people. He genuinely cared. I don't think he really understood. Understood is a bad word because he was a very intelligent man, but I don't think he understood the communism the way we would understand it now. Anyway, that's who raised my mom. My mom was very liberal Democrat, all the way up to the time she drove me to the polls because I was going to vote for Ronald Reagan, the first time I could vote in a presidential election, 1980. I was 19 years old, and she drove me to the election, bitching me out the whole way because I was going to just cancel out her vote. She shouldn't even drive me. She should just drop me at the corner and make me walk home. Now, well, probably the last 30 years, my mom, she started a business of her own, still successfully running that business. She's in her 80s. She's 81. And so she was born in 42, 81. And about 30 years ago, she made that magical switch over to being more conservative. And right now, my mom is one of the biggest Trump supporters you'd ever want to know. So she made the full conversion. But anyway, Susie Q and other people's commenting on that. So there's good news and there's bad news about education, our educational system. The good news is that leftism remains highly unpopular in America in general, believe it or not. The bad news is that woke autocrats have not backed down. And instead, they've captured whole institutions, from schools to corporations and beyond. And they're using the same methods as their totalitarian predecessors to force their bad ideas on us all. And by the way, there are even corporations out there that the only reason they support some of these things is because they believe the rest of the country is going with it. This is their customer base. So like the despots of failed leftist regimes, the woke's goal is to target the children so their ideology spreads to parents. And enforced conformity is step one. Enforced conformity is step one. Schools are a key battleground in this fight, folks. Leftists needlessly closed schools during the bug infection of the last few years. And they dared anyone to challenge their authority. They silenced concerned parents through social consequences, just as history's villains have done before. The woke have targeted rigor and destroyed merit. They pretend that 2 + 2 does not always equal 4 and claim that this is somehow related to equity. And they're forcing an agenda on our kids that steals their childhood and turns them into soldiers for the woke cause if parents are not paying attention. The indoctrination they push is all-encompassing. It's merciless, and they have to be opposed. It's time to be brave. It's not isolated incidents and isolated scenarios and isolated topics. It's an entire agenda that is set in place that is all-encompassing to try to win the minds of kids. Only got a few minutes left on the radio, but totalitarians and our children. I read in this book on stolen youth, the author said her great-grandfather died in a gulag near the Kuril Islands in eastern Russia sometime in the late 1930s. Gulag, you've heard the word before, stands for, I'll get this the best I can, Glavanoye Upravlenaya Ispravitelino Trudovik Lagere. Whatever. Okay, that means Chief Administration of Corrective Labor Camps. Like they couldn't have said that in the first place. And it's a bureaucratic name for forced labor camps maintained during the time of the Soviet Union. Alexander Solzhenitsyn. I always have problems with the H sounds in his name. He was the author of the 3-volume book set, The Gulag Archipelago, chronicling his, I've got it over on my shelf, and it was chronicled his own time in the gulags. I believe 40 to 50 million people served time in those gulags, in the camps, though some estimates put that number closer to 60 million. So this author's grandfather and his wife had owned a bakery in Gomel, Belarus, when private enterprise became illegal under the rule of Joseph Stalin. And being Jewish in the Soviet Union had never been easy, but this was something very different. And they were no longer simply other. Overnight, they became enemies of the state, and her grandfather became a political prisoner. And they hadn't stepped out of time. The line had shifted underneath them. And other people in the gulags were politicians, intellectuals, artists, or simply related to one of those objectionable persons. Some were there because they had said the wrong thing, and others because they didn't say the right thing strongly enough. And Solzhenitsyn, for example, was sentenced to 8 years for criticizing Stalin in a private letter. And some prisoners were there for no discernible reason at all. And there's more to this, as a point I'm making. And we're out of time for the radio in about 30 seconds. And so we'll pick this up next time, talking about Solzhenitsyn and the gulags, and then our educational system, and compare them. For the radio audience, I want to thank you for being here. Thank you for giving me your time. Thanks for listening. Folks, you can hear this in its audio format and replay over on Odyssey Radio. Now, for those of you on radio, you can stick around in the Captain's Cabin on YouTube. Live long and prosper.
Join us every weeknight at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, 10 p.m. Eastern. The Intrepid Radio Program, a Scotty Roberts Productions broadcast.
Hey folks, this is Scotty Roberts, and this is the Intrepid radio broadcast. I've been broadcasting for about 20 years now, covering such topics as science, politics, the paranormal, weird science, weird world history, archaeology, and the paranormal. Everything from ghosts to cryptids to creepy things that go bump in the night. So every week I bring you 3 new episodes. Come and join my channel and also be a patron to this site. So see the details below, and we'll see you here. Well, and welcome to the captain's cabin, everyone. Say it with me now. Feel it in your heart. Hey, I just I responded. I have these emails. Doing the R made me think of this. I signed up for some of these like voiceover places and acting talent and art director stuff and all these different little job related types of boards. And I got an email that asked me if I wanted to put my name in the hat for doing a character in an audio. I don't know if it's for an ad or for a story or what it is. It didn't give much detail, but somebody doing a Scottish accent. And they wanted it to sound like an older guy, in his 50s to 60s. How they saw that as older, I have no idea. So, we'll talk about that in a second, field guy, Star Trek Picard. The 3rd season, by the way, I think is some of the best Trek ever done since Next Generation. Anyway, so I applied for this, and I didn't want to do, they gave some of the lines. I didn't want to do any of the lines. They didn't ask for it for an audition, but I said I'd be happy to audition, but I did record something and send it along. And I talked in a Scottish brogue. And I said something to the effect of, well, I can talk in a Scottish brogue. I says, but I haven't practiced it, so it might be something I need to rehearse a wee bit to get you a little more of the accent you're looking for. And they're asking for the 1700s, that kind of sound. That sound. So you don't just say sound, you say sound. They have this in there, the sound, and you have to enunciate the right way, and I wanted to slur it up a bit. Like, we used to do this Scottish. You were drinking scotch and out in the country in the hillsides and blah blah blah. And so I submitted that today. That's what that made me think of, saying the R. That I was doing that. So R, elderberry. Strange New Worlds is amazing. Morgan Snow. I love that show. And I just watched the season finale this last week. I'm like, no. They're only doing 10 episodes a season. I hope that's only half seasons. We'll find out. Field Guy's here. Field Guy, how you doing?
Doing good.
Good.
No, 10 episodes is a season.
Well, it used to be 26 episodes was a season.
Yeah, but that's TV. On like Netflix and Hulu, it's like 10 or 12 tops.
So you get 10 in 10 weeks, you're exhausted. You got 42 weeks to wait for the next season.
Yeah. I found out the other night I've had Paramount Plus for 6 months. Didn't even know it.
Oh, really?
Well, somebody else got it and I didn't know it. And I've seen bits and pieces of Star Trek Picard because bits and
Which
pieces
season are you on?
Oh, I haven't watched 2, but I skipped through 3.
3 is the best.
I just got done watching episode 1 and 2
of season 3.
Where that scimitar was in the nebula. And they were
some of the best Star Trek ever done in recent days. So
I've seen clips on YouTube where Data comes back and they're all the Enterprise D, and I've seen clips,
right?
But I haven't seen full. Yeah, but I that's what I was watching, cool. And I looked at the clock and I said, "Oh crap, it's 10 o'clock."
Yeah.
I started watching like 2 hours ago.
What were you thinking? You were thinking Star Trek. Then it's okay.
I was watching
it. Strange New Worlds, since have you seen any of those yet?
No.
Strange New Worlds just ended their second season. So there's 20 episodes. First season and second season.
That's interesting.
Absolute must watch.
Is that the one
first season did? Especially the first half of the first season, made me feel like I felt when I was a kid watching the original Star Trek. Because Strange New World is supposed to be taking place before the Kirk and Spock 5-year mission. And so it's Captain Pike and Spock.
Oh, that's the one where Rebecca Romijn in it, huh? Plays number 1.
She plays number 1. It was played by Majel Barrett in the original. She's the one who became Nurse Chapel, but she played number 1 in the original pilot.
I think I've seen that
before with Jeffrey Hunter as Captain Pike. So,
yeah, that got sewn into the first episode, I think, with Shatner.
Yes, that was the second pilot because the first pilot they filmed with Jeffrey Hunter, Majel Barrett, Leonard Nimoy as Spock. They rejected that episode. The network did. The censors. They said it was too cerebral for the public mind. And it was Lucille Ball that came in and saved the day. She bought it all up and she said, let's give it another chance. And
I've heard about that part.
And then Jeffrey Hunter he dropped out. His wife was his manager, demanded more money. And they said, there's no more money to be had. And he dropped out. And so they hired William Shatner to play the new captain. So
the thing I don't get really is NBC had the rights to Star Trek. And CBS owns it now. Paramount. Yeah. I bet NBC's kicking himself in the ass saying, "What did we do?"
They are. So what does Roger Rabbit say here? I'm stuck watching reruns of old sitcoms. I enjoy seeing bits of the old ways of life, the things I could say then and can't now. It's priceless, he says. Helps numb my brain. I catch those when I can.
Long ago.
Morgan Snow, I love Pike's attitude. I love the way Anson Mount is playing Chris Pike. Very well done. Beth Kirkham says, I had to pooch out for a moment. I think kids learn about stuff on the street like I was. Like you learned on the street, you mean, Beth?
Oh,
some of them do.
I know I found my socks.
I don't let my kids roam the street, though. They have the internet. They learn far too much there.
What?
The interwebs.
Back in my day, oh crap!
Back in my day, we didn't have the interwebs. We had dial-up phones. They were mobile only because your mom had the 10-foot, 20-foot squiggly wire on it that stretched.
Oh, I didn't even have dial-up. I didn't even own a computer.
Oh, we had dial-up at one point.
I had a phone, but I didn't have a computer until 2003. I was like 23 when I had a computer.
I used to try to nail my brother with the phone. The phone hung on the wall between the steps going downstairs to the bedroom I shared with my brother and the dining room. So it was just the thin section of wall about that thick, stairs on one side and the dining room on the other. And it sat on the side wall. So you'd come up the stairs and you could answer the phone right there. But I would take that big, long, stretchy cord, the coily cord, that stretched, and I would grab that phone and I would walk it. I could walk it all the way to the front door of the house.
It was pretty long.
It was like Wile E. Coyote with a giant slingshot from the Acme Corporation.
Wow.
And I'd hear my brother coming up the stairs, and as I heard him hit that top step, release! And I never hit him because it would always go off course, It didn't have enough tension. But then he beat the shit out of me. So,
but yeah, I heard that crap today. That cancel culture crap. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Supposedly it's because they're canceling that song because of it's on a kids app or something.
Which one?
And Fat Bottom Girls by Queen.
Oh boy.
They deleted it from their greatest hits because they said, "Oh, it's on some kind of kids thing." They said, "Oh, well, kids, that's not suitable for kids. They shouldn't listen to that song."
What about the who was I don't even know the name of the dumb shit that recorded, the black chick that did the song with all the vaginal references and nasty reference. I can't even think of who it is. So,
My Neck, My Back song?
I don't know what it is. It was big. It was big in the news and everything. About a year ago, maybe a little more than that, maybe 2 years ago. Came out with some song about her pussy or this or that.
Oh, the Cardi B WAP song?
That's got to be it.
Yeah, all the teenagers were going crazy for that. And that's that Cardi B and Megan Stallion.
So you can have a song like that, but you can't have a Queen song.
Yep, I saw that today where they took it off the greatest hits list, and I go, I don't, hey, if you spell WAP backwards, it's Paw.
It sure is.
So, yeah, they targeted that song to like the teenagers. I think even the kids were walking around with that stuff.
Yep.
They were playing that stuff when I was working. They were playing that song, so they would come in and play that crap.
I wasn't into Queen as much in high school as I could have been, but because I was into weirder music than that. But I listened to Queen. The thing that really got me hooked on them was their soundtrack for the movie Highlander that came out in the early 1980s, 83. They had all those songs like Who Wants to Live Forever and We Are the Champions was in that. What else was in that?
That's the Saints national anthem. We are the champions.
Yeah. And so there were all those cool songs from that movie. They did the whole soundtrack for that movie. Now there was some orchestration, but they did all the songs in the original Highlander movie.
Yeah, see, I never knew they made one in the 80s. I always think of the one with what was it? Jean-Claude Van Damme, I think. Didn't he do that?
I don't know.
Like in the 90s? Somebody did. I don't know.
Ryan Gale said Highlander was my intro to Queen. Mine too, frankly, Ryan. And what were some of the songs in that? Queen songs.
I think by the time I started listening to Queen in the 90s,
Highlander.
That was right around the time Freddie Mercury passed away. 92 or something.
Queen's songs in Highlander were Princes of the Universe, Who Wants to Live Forever. Here we go. What songs did Queen do for Highlander? A Kind of Magic, 1 Year of Love, Hammer to Fall, Don't Lose Your Head, Give Me the Prize, and A Dozen Red Roses for My Darling.
I don't think I know any of those songs.
Oh, wait, there was also New York, New York they did.
Oh, they covered Sinatra song?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
New York, New York. Yeah, it was pretty cool. And so there were some good songs in that, from their ballady sounding stuff to, Who Wants to Live Forever, songs like that.
Well, Queen over time changed their music. Like the last album that Freddie Mercury did before he passed away, Innuendo, it's more kind of like techno, sort of like than rock, really. It's all kind of mixed together. It's the last one. He was recording that album while standing on crutches because, by that time he passed away with AIDS he had I think it was pneumonia, age-related or something, but couldn't stand half the time.
Yeah.
Trying to get that album out because
Thank
they
you,
did
Barbie
a video.
D, by the way. She said, good show tonight. Thank you, my darling.
It's always good. I know it said something about children. That's all I remember.
Yeah, it was about leftist wokeism really trying to steal our kids.
Damn them.
Getting into it in detail. We're going to cover this for a couple more shows because it's pretty big topic.
Well, I'll go back after this and watch the replay.
And it won't be specifically talking about the same thing all 3 nights. It's the same general topic about how our kids are being targeted. So it is an important show, Susie Q.
If they would get rid of this damn TikTok and all this other crap, we'd be good.
Yep.
They keep saying they're going to get rid of it.
I'm a parent, and we have rules in our house, laws in our house. Certain things you can't do and can't watch and can't listen to. Yet we keep finding our kids watching and listening to them. Get off of that. Now, TikTok, we've almost got that one conquered. But they watch videos. And the videos, my daughter, if we're not paying attention, and it's summertime when they should be outside running around all the time, I'm working down here. Rainy's studio's down on the other side of the wall over there. And we're like, it's too quiet. Where are the kids? We know Flynn's off doing football. We got Rowan's doing something. And then we find Ellery just sitting in the corner of the sofa with her legs crossed and watching videos hours at a time. It's like, we need to be done with the videos now. And it's like trying to, I don't know. I can't even think of a good analogy. But it's like, no. You come down and you hang out with dad in the office or you hang out with mom because she goes, I don't have any friends. So all her friends are gone doing other things. She can't ever find them. And so...
but everybody's got phones. We didn't... I know I didn't have phones because we didn't have those. But
we didn't have them when I was a kid, yeah.
I see these kids 3 years old with these big tablets watching stuff. And I'm like, what? Like, why do 8-year-olds need to be on TikTok in the first place?
Morgan Snow says, even now, I don't allow electronic devices at the table. No, we don't either. It's not too hard fast to rule. It's just
the only phone I have.
Mom and Dad, we have our phones usually in our pockets or something, even at dinner time. Because it all depends on if I've got a call coming in from a client or not. Sometimes you can just walk away from that too. You know, hey, call me back. And but I'm thinking of imposing a rule, especially at bedtime for right now. Our kids go to bed and they're watching videos late at night. And it's like, no. Phones go off at 9 p.m. They're kids. They're not older teens. Now, Flynn is 14. Slightly different for him. But Flynn is the kid that will sit up till 4 in the morning watching videos or playing video games. And then he'll sleep till 3 in the afternoon.
See, that was me at 14.
You can't do that.
That was me at 14, 15. I would stay up. Of course, we didn't have phones. We did, but I would stay up because, I didn't have my own room. I split it with my brothers. I had this side and that side. But what I did was I turned the volume down. And, of course, I didn't have a door. I didn't have a door frame. The door, my parents took the door off, but their room was adjacent. They were like, we don't care as long as you don't wake up anybody else. Turn it down. If you want. Basically, they're like, if you want to stay up, that's on you, but you got to get up in the morning and go to school. So,
and
so
that's
a lot
what
of times,
my son. I told my son just the other day, I said, you have to start grooming yourself because in about 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks, you're going back to school. You're up at 6:30 in the morning. So there's no staying up till 4 a.m. anymore. I'm a little liberal with him. I let him do it. He had a buddy spent the night on Friday night, and they were up. I got up at 5:15 in the morning. They were both still playing video games out in the living room. I'm like, dudes, you got to go to bed. And his friend just said, I'm going home. It's already morning. And so, yeah.
I would have been like, it's 5 o'clock in the morning. It's probably pitch dark. No, you ain't going home. You don't know what's out there. But kids out here started school last month.
Oh, really?
Oh, and yeah. The beginning of this month, like August, right before. Yeah, I left my job a couple of weeks ago because I got tired of management. I got another one, and I got an interview tomorrow, which I'm going to start.
Hey there,
hopefully. But right before we left,
you look absolutely amazing. Come here.
Who's that?
My amazing wife. Hold on, let me.
Nope, we need a rainy sighting.
There she is.
All hail.
She's got her cool pantaloons on, her salmon pants.
Leave it just like that for a while. I'm good.
Salmon pants. So, you look beautiful.
Hi. I'm going to bed. I'm taking kids to bed.
All right.
They're jerks. Got to get them on a school
Why?
schedule.
What are they? Yeah, that's what it's just. We were just talking about that.
Right.
And I said, I just told Flynn the other day, you got to get back on a school schedule. So.
And they all go back to school next week. It's going to be a hard, especially since the 3 boys are spending the night and they're not going to sleep.
There's 3 boys here now?
Well, Flynn, Waylon, and Damon. And then Rowan's got Bentley. So there's technically 4 boys spending the night at our house tonight.
Wow, we got 4 boys at our house tonight. So fun.
So I'll just say send money because they're going to eat us out of house and home.
Yeah, we always get up in the morning and half our food's gone.
Yeah, it's like,
I got some change somewhere.
Right? You can't send money, send milk.
Yeah.
Milk and bread.
I just went to the store today. See, if I would have known that, I would have sent some over.
Right?
But here, all the kids went back to school like August 4th, 5th. They're already back. In Mississippi, they went back to end of July because Mississippi passed a law all year round. They go 3 months and take 2 weeks off. 3 months, 2 weeks off. Because of the pandemic, they kept that in. They're trying to do that down here, but I don't think it'll pass.
Yeah.
But yeah, the kids been back to school 2-3 weeks here already.
Nice.
Wow.
Somebody said there was a law here that kids don't legally have to go to school until September 1st.
Really?
But we're starting a week
I don't
early,
believe it.
But I think they said we're starting a week early because we had so many snow days last year and COVID did change stuff here. Our kids go to school like 4 days a week and that's it. It's kind of nice.
It's weird. So
but there's always at least there's maybe usually one full 5-day week of school, but otherwise it's 4 days a week.
I think here they're making up for the hurricanes and stuff. So because they closed and they got another one out in the Gulf now. So August and September. It's hurricane season.
It might be a wood tick. Now you're freaking
me out. No.
What
It's long. Feels like a scratch back there. Like a big scar.
Move your finger. I can't feel. I'm contorting.
Contort.
That might be the label on my bra.
Oh, it's a label. So, but yeah, school time. It's the most wonderful time of the year.
Song. It drives me freaking insane. It's not Christmas. Shut up.
You got to sing School's Out by Alice Cooper. That's the other one.
There you go.
Yeah, that's what the kids sing. That's not what the parents sing.
I used to listen to that. I used to play that with my parents. I would be like, School's Out. Be like, damn it. Then again, I went outside. We didn't have this internet. We didn't have any of this stuff. I literally was like, all right, 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock, whatever it was. I'd come home at like, my parents had one rule: come back before it gets dark. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep,
I had to go
pretty
chase
much.
the kids tonight. They were all down at the gas station. It's 8:30. I'm like, it's dark.
What, Speedway or Holiday?
Well, they went over to Dick's first, and then came back over to this side and went to the park, and it was already getting dark when they were at the park, and then they went to Speedway. And it's like, you guys, you need to be home before it's dark. We're in a town where there's bars and a brewery.
And of course, we can't go over. They go under the bridge, across the footbridge or something on the river.
Mm-hmm.
We can't drive over there because it's under construction. We have to go 11, 12 miles out of the way to get over to that side, 3 blocks from here.
They know what they're doing.
So, yep. Dairy Queen's over there. Dick's Food Market is over there.
Somebody said Dairy Queen was closed.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh.
There's no chairs.
Okay.
I'm just gonna go over here.
There we go.
We have
There, I'll move that.
Dairy Queen can't keep employees, so Dairy Queen closed, is what I heard. But there was kids at the Dairy Queen today, so I have no clue.
Dairy Queen here was closed for a good, after the pandemic, almost a year. Like, the drive-thru was closed, and they would only be open from like 11 to 5. And because they didn't have enough employees, so they literally, guy would get off of work and want to go to Dairy Queen, closed. I'm like, what the hell? And they did that up until about probably January, and I guess they finally got enough. But I was looking at the job boards today, and they got Dairy Queen, Dairy Queen, Dairy Queen. I said, nobody wants to. They don't pay any. See, here, minimum wage is federal wage, which is $7.25. They don't pay nothing.
It's got to be the construction over there, so that's really affected a lot of things. But.
Yeah. Well, they don't want to pay either. It's minimum wage here is same, and you don't have to pay more than that. And I don't think they pay the kids at Dairy Queen. And that's all they can get at Dairy Queen because they won't pay the adults enough to work there.
Well, I saw where it said, when I was looking at the job boards on Indeed, and it said $8.50. I don't think you're not going to keep anybody at that price. I mean, unless it's like kids, teenagers. Right. I mean, even McDonald's, they only pay like $10.30 an hour, and that's after 90 days.
It's crazy. I just got a job today at the Dollar General. I'm going to work while the kids are at school, and I get my Monday through Friday 7 to 2, which is not bad because I'll be home for kids.
There you go. I should have tried that. I got a job interview tomorrow at this place, Cons. I don't know if y'all have that. It's a furniture place.
No.
Yeah, it's I forget where it is. It's by the old mall. It's like that, the old mall.
We have
Dillard's,
but they pay Mongolian barbecue.
Yeah.
They pay like $20 an hour, so I'm going for that.
Right. Yeah. Well, if you just drive, it's 11 minutes across the bridge, across the river into Minnesota. At Taco Bell, $20 an hour. McDonald's, $20 an hour. And you go to the next town over here in Wisconsin, and it's starting $14 an hour. Well, it's not even starting. That's what you get. You get 14. So it's just a $6 difference if you just drive 11 miles over the river.
Yeah.
I think Panera starts at like 14, 15. Because they got the old mall is like the town center where I used to work. And they got all those businesses there. But, I left my last job because I couldn't take my boss anymore. She kept giving me scissors, and I'm like, you are so wanting me to do something. Like, she kept driving me insane. And I'm like, look, I got
to cut her hair, to stab her, what?
A little bit of both.
She wanted the scissor.
She wanted her toenails cut. And you missed the opportunity.
She's like OD, and half the time she showed up to work, in my opinion, drunk, because there were a few times she went in the back and said, "I'm going to sleep," turned off all the lights, and I was running the store by myself.
Nice.
I'm like, am I the manager all of a sudden? But
could you change your pay? Because then you would be.
No, she didn't change my pay. She gave me the unofficial title. But no, I just told her, I said, here's my 2 weeks, I'm done. And that was about 3 weeks ago. I said, here's my 2 weeks, I'm done. And she's like, oh, well, no. She tried to talk me out of it. I said, there ain't nothing you can do. I said, because I was supposed to be promoted. She denied it. I said, there ain't nothing you can do. I said, I'm only making $11.25 an hour after 2 years.
Yeah.
That ain't nothing. So
that's terrible.
I mean, I was full-time, but she took away my Saturdays and Sundays, which I have a contract that says Monday through Friday. And she broke that contract. So I said, I'm done. Because she wouldn't hire anybody. She interviewed like 30 people and said, we're not hiring anybody. You have to work weekends. I said, nope, I ain't doing that crap. Sorry, go hire it.
Right.
Hire some school kids.
Right.
Look, I pulled out the contract.
Nowadays.
Yeah, I pulled out the contract and I said, here. I said, what does that say? No, people were coming in for jobs. It's just like the interview was like 2 minutes long. People were walking out. They interviewed like 30
Can
people.
You speak English? Yes. Do you have an alarm clock? Yes, you're hired.
Well, that's kind of how today was. I got there as somebody else was leaving, and they hired the person that was before me too, and it was kind of like, and not to judge on looks, but I judged it on looks, and it's like, oh my God, please tell me I don't have to work with that person.
What is it? Dollar Tree or Dollar General?
Dollar General. Oh, I don't know.
Oh,
funny enough,
I couldn't tell if it was male or female.
Wow.
Funny enough, I put in an application at Dollar General today. But I got this other call. I'd worked at Dollar General before, about 15 years ago, and I worked there for about 3 months. Because there's like 15 Dollar Generals around me within 10 miles. Yeah. There's like one right across the street, little ways. There's one every 2 miles. There's a Dollar General out here. Seems like. Yeah.
Well, ours is looking for a general manager if you want to move to Wisconsin.
Yeah, get out of that hot and humid.
Oh, yeah. It's like there's some kind of heat dome they set around us. Oh, yeah. Every day for the next like 2 weeks, 102, 103. The heat index is about 120. It hasn't rained either. It's rained one day in the last 3 months.
I know up here, assistant managers start at $16 an hour. I don't know what managers start at, but I'm assuming general managers probably go for that like 18 to 20.
Hey, Sarah.
Probably. I would think, but this one I put in for, it said estimated 23 to 29,000 per year, and it was like lead sales associate. I was just putting
estimated 23 to 29,000.
That's when I was on Indeed.
That's like poverty wages.
Yeah.
Nowadays.
Oh, this job I'm applying for, it's 35 to 60,000.
35 to 60. That's a big gap.
Well, I don't know. I'll find out tomorrow. I don't know if it's like commission job. It's furniture place. But
yeah, you probably get sales commission on your sales.
Yeah. Better than shoes. I'm done with the shoe industry.
Wants to see your salmon pants.
Shoes, I can stand up. Shoes aren't bad. I sold shoes for a while. It was a lot of fun. And my best deal was there was one day where the register glitched out, and the Doc Marten boots, knee-high boots, were going for $9. I grabbed 5 pairs.
You grabbed 5 pairs.
They were $109. They were $109 each.
And that was 20 years ago.
They still sell for $109.
She was working at Here's Rainy's salmon pants. Those are some of the leggings we did. So here, turn all the way around. Let's see.
There's not much on the butt.
Okay.
I don't think I like the white on the butt though, because
it's the lines are funny on this, but these are some of the ones we made up. And
I like the fish down here.
She got the fish down on her legs.
It's all salmon.
Salmon. For salmon fishing, yeah.
I didn't get to go this year. I was too broke.
It's one of those summers.
Right.
Dollar Generals are usually in like small towns in the middle of the woods mostly.
Yep.
Yeah, we're a small town.
We're small town.
When I go into Mississippi and I go to the casino, there's like 2 houses, and you go down a highway, Dollar General, and then for like 10 miles, nothing. And then you got the casino.
Then
literally, Dollar General's in the middle of nowhere.
Nice.
They must make enough off those little people.
Dollar General, when I was down in Louisiana, we'd go to the Dollar General to get groceries.
Yeah.
So
they probably got 20,000 of those in Lake Charles.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them.
That's way on the other side of the state.
All right.
Do you want to sit here? Or
no, I'm gonna go upstairs. I'm tired. I wanted to go to bed at 7:56.
She's gonna go put the kids to bed.
And I fought it, and that's now 10:30. So I'm gonna go to bed.
Well, I'll be up too then in a few minutes.
So. Oh, there's a kitty under the table. Hi, buddy.
Kitty. Hey, Oscar.
Oh, it's a big old fat cat.
So
He's so handsome.
So that's
Yeah.
we're getting pretty close to wrapping here anyway tonight, I think.
I'm gonna say good night. Good night.
Good night, baby.
It's been fun.
I'll see you in a while.
Good night, Rainey.
I love you.
See you later.
There she goes. All right.
Secret things.
Yes. Good night, Rainey, says Susie Q.
All right. I don't know, Sarah. I missed the show myself. I have to watch the replay.
So, anyway.
If I watch it backwards, I get the good parts first, and then it goes.
There you go. Backmask it.
Then at the end, you get the intro. Oh, wait. No, you at the end, you also have the intro. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Fooled here. Both ends.
Sarah Yusuf, if I start talking about what children are being indoctrinated in, I have to start the thing all over again.
Oh.
There's a lot of things they're being indoctrinated in. If you go back and hit the first 10, 15 minutes, you'll get the gist. And then you'll be sucked in for the rest of it. So
good thing is I found all my socks that I bought before I left.
There they are.
Oh, these, I bought them. They're diabetic socks, but
oh yeah. They're good for your circulation.
I bought some Skechers, and I was buying stuff for like I had 40% discount, sometimes 50%. So I was buying stuff every so often.
Well, Rainey is going to go up and get those kids wrangled to go to bed, and then we're going to go to bed. So I'll
probably go watch more
Picard. What's that?
I'll probably go watch more Picard.
Very, very worth watching. And if you get tired of it, you won't get tired of Picard. This is probably one of the best seasons they've ever done.
Well, I skipped over 2 because Whoopi Goldberg's in that season, and I can't stand her.
I kind of, after I watched season 2, I was like, oh, I did not like that. I said,
yeah, they based that on Q, the older Q.
And no, wait, maybe it was season 1 I didn't like so much. Season 1. Q was all right. I liked Q, his episodes and that. And but season 3 is pure Star Trek, the way it's supposed to be. So
I think they kind of lined it, like you said, that 3 was the next generation, and 2 was kind of that, and 1 was kind of.
Yep.
I don't know if they're making season 4 or not. I think they said he might.
I will tell you though, you'll see at the end of season 3 of Picard how they've left that open for a new series, but not the series you'd think without knowing where they're going with it.
That I haven't found on. I have not found that clip on YouTube. It's copyrighted, but I've seen bits, and I had seen where they go on the Enterprise D, and they.
Yep.
I have seen clips. It's on YouTube, but the end part. Every time I go to click it on YouTube, it's copyrighted.
Oh, well.
People take it down.
You can go. I won't give anything away, but I think that they have left this wide open for a new series altogether. So
probably they can spin it off to anything.
Yeah.
Jerry Rowling needs her own series. We need more of her.
I sing that song, Elderberry.
Gone fishing.
Gone fishing. All right, guys, I'm going to get out of here. Fieldy, good to see you tonight. Sarah, I'm feeling pretty good. Do I look like I don't feel good? I'm just curious. You asked that question.
There we go.
Is that a leading question? Do I look bad? See you, field guy.
See you later.
Sarah, I feel pretty good. And doing good today. I'm just tired. I've been going since 5 this morning. So, and it's now 10:39, and I'm about ready to turn in. So, yeah, I feel pretty good. I had a pretty good day today. So things are going well. Thank you for all your help and advice on stuff. She's been my doctor away from doctors. So she knows her stuff. So let's see. What else have I got? Michelle Canham Free, good to see you. Susie Q, nice having you here tonight. And Morgan Snow. Everybody else, if I don't see you, it's because I'm not scrolling and looking. But I sure appreciate you being here. And yeah, we'll catch up this week, Sarah. keep you filled in. Things are going really well, by the way, just so you know. And that talk I had with Sarah a few weeks ago did more for me than the diabetic specialists and stuff like that I've gone to see. And it's been pretty even keeled with only a few ups and downs, but it's been very good. And I've evened out pretty well. So, and I'm also back into my my Nordic track workouts and my chair yoga workouts. Hopefully by the time it's Christmas comes around, we'll see if I have a six-pack again or not. We'll see.
I need a six-pack of beer.
What's that?
I'll take a six-pack of beer.
Yeah, six-pack of beer. All right, Fieldy, good to see you, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
See you later, Scotty. Have a good one.
All right. And everybody else, thank you for being here. Thank you for giving me your time. And I appreciate that more than you can know. Go visit my Patreon. See all the stuff we have up there. And that's all I got to say about that right now. So thanks for being here. We'll see you next time. Live long and prosper.